What's up, everybody? Welcome back. GigaChad Books here again with another YouTube video. Before we get into it, I want to show you guys a couple things. First off, check out my new elephant bush. Pretty cool. I really like this guy. He doesn't have a name. I don't know if he ever will, but if you got a name, let me know. So that's number one. Number two, look at all these books I got that I have to read, and they're going everywhere. Just to show you how much I love books. So I'm very excited to read all these. I've bought a lot of books in the past however many weeks. I have a problem, but don't we all? Don't we all? And what better problem is there to have than owning too many books? You might even say that it's not a problem. Alright, but anyways, we're not talking about that. We're talking about East of Eden by John Steinbeck. This isn't really like the typical story that you might follow. Like it doesn't really feel like there is a plot line, honestly. Like it's simply just like a character study on these people. And in my opinion, it's almost like you just get this massive backstory on all these characters. Like this one kid in the book, his name is Cal, and he is the son of Adam Trask. And I feel like the whole book is just kind of leading up into Cal's development and his story. So you follow a few characters, mainly Adam Trask and his brother Charles. There's also Samuel Hamilton and his family and his descendants. And then there's also Kathy, or better known as Kate. And she's the freaking worst. Nobody likes her. She is actually the spawn of Satan. I was consistently impressed with just like how evil she really was. Like, she always impresses you. Not to spoil anything, but she's pretty awful. And then there is, of course, the two sons that later appear in the book. You have Cal and Aaron. They were a very interesting foil to each other, and they served very well in the themes of the book, I would say. And then my favorite character is definitely Lee. Lee is a Chinese servant that serves the Trask family, and he is just an absolutely beautiful character. I loved him probably more than any other character gotten to learn in any book. Same with Samuel Hamilton. Samuel Hamilton is definitely like a close second. I feel like there are so many very likable characters in this book, though. I really liked Adam Trask. His development is really great. He kind of goes from being like this naive and incompetent kind of fool, and he makes a lot of mistakes and dwells in his mistakes and doesn't have a clear focus on things that should be important to him, and really gets lost in his despair. But we see through Lee and through Samuel Hamilton, he's able to kind of retrieve himself and become a really good and respectable man, a very lovable man and a very kind man. And I think that was something that I really enjoyed seeing, because originally, like early on in the book, I really felt for Adam, and I really felt for how tragic his story was. And then I just like saw him just get freaking manipulated and torn apart, and you could just see it happening, and it really sucked to see. And then like you're just like, Adam, what are you doing, man? But then by the end of the book, like, he just has a complete character arc, and he really fulfills his purpose in the book. And I loved that. There's so many good character arcs. I loved Lee so much. I loved his development and how sure he becomes of himself by the end of the book, and how he kind of finds himself rooted in his family instead of wanting to serve his own self and serve his own purpose. And he just leaves behind his dreams that he wanted to fulfill. And I just loved his development. I sat with the book for a little bit after having finished it, and I read a few pages from it that I had bookmarked, and like I was just reflecting on Lee and his development and how proud I was of him. And like It brought me to tears, man. Holy freak. I haven't cried at a book, like, in forever. I only cried reading The Red Fern Grows, and that's because I had dogs in it that died. And, like, that's, like, the saddest thing ever, man. But Lee just had, like, I was just so happy with him. And I was so happy with all of these characters. Like, they all have such a beautiful development. I think a big theme in this book, one of the two themes I think that I'll speak of, is one of them is that there's always darkness in the world, and it obviously it needs to be acknowledged, and it's necessary to acknowledge it. But just because it's necessary to do that doesn't mean that there isn't a whole other world out there of beauty and of light. And they're both necessary in a world. People will always have evil in them, but they will also have good in them too. And just because there's evil surrounding them doesn't mean that there isn't a whole lot of good there as well. And I guess that ties in to the other theme that I want to talk about. I'm going to let my dog in real quick. Goldie, don't interrupt my book. Sorry, my dog is in my room now. She's having an anxiety attack. Stop. Okay, anyways. So I was speaking about Timshel. And that word, it does come from Lee. It comes from this little meeting that he has with a bunch of old Oriental dudes. That's how he describes in the book. Okay, don't look at me like that. But he has a meeting with a bunch of old, wise Chinese guys, and they like smoke opium out of pipes, and they just sit there and they think, and they just do whatever. And they're trying to like decipher this story from the Bible. They're just like trying to figure out the meaning of it, and they're like researching this and whatever, and they end up coming to a conclusion of, I'm doing a really bad job of explaining this, but basically the thing is talking about how man does not have to triumph over evil, and not that man will or shall triumph over evil, I guess, but man has the option to do it. And when it's a completely different way of looking at it. We have the choice to rise above the darkness that may reside within us. There's a huge complex within Adam's son Cal, where he just thinks that he has all of these bad things within him, like he thinks these bad thoughts. He isn't pure of heart like his brother is, and he thinks that just because he isn't absolutely pure of heart, that makes him less, and that makes him undeserving. But just because he has this darkness within him doesn't mean that he cannot still rise above it and be a good person, and be deserving of love and of compassion and of a good and fulfilling life. And it's just a really good thing. And I definitely think that's why I appreciate Cal's character so much. And the foil to his character is his brother Aaron. And Aaron is very much pure of heart. He doesn't think dirty thoughts. He doesn't think anything bad. He's just very naive and innocent and self-absorbed. And none of it is really good. He doesn't see people for who they are, and he doesn't see the world for what it is. And it drags people down. And it isn't a valid way of seeing the world through the lens that Aaron sees it. And Cal's perspective is a much more realistic representation of what it is to be human. And all humans have that within them. We all have our dark spots, but we all have our bright spots, and it's just a matter of your choice and where you want to grow in, what emphasis you want to place on your own life. And I love this book so much. It was just so good. It was so emotional. There's so much tragedy in it, but there's also so much beauty in it as well. And I'm so glad that I read it. This is definitely one of my favorite books that I have ever read. And it is very long, but it doesn't feel that long, and it feels like so much is encapsulated within it. It's such a wise book, and there's really a lot to be taken away from it. The philosophy here is great, and the dialogue is great. The dialogue is where much of this wisdom is hidden, and I could just read John Steinbeck's dialogue for decades, man. Like, it's so good. I love authors that provide good dialogue because I think it's so difficult to make good and engaging dialogue, and John Steinbeck is definitely capable of it. But I love this book. I loved everything about it. I thought it was super awesome. There was like 54 chapters. I probably didn't like one chapter, and that was it. So I definitely think that this is my favorite book that I've read so far this year, and it's got to be like top 3 out of all books right now. So I freaking loved it. I hope that you guys read it as well. My 9 subscribers now. Shout out my 9 subscribers. You know who you are. Y'all need to read this. It is long, but it's such a great journey to be a part of, and characters that you can really grow along with and grow to love. And that's what's beautiful about the length of this book. Gives you time to really sit with the characters and develop an attachment to them. But that about sums up my thoughts on John Steinbeck's East of Eden. Everybody take care. Thanks for watching. My elephant bush will be waiting next time, and maybe he'll have grown a little bit. Maybe he'll be bigger. Wouldn't that be great? I would love it. Okay, well, I'll see y'all later. Have a nice night.